Huh. You know, I think it's important that we all create. I do believe in God, and God is a creator. And if we are made in His image, then we have that essence of creativity, creation within us. And I think when we do that,
The mystery of the future is unknown. So you would probably talk about things like, this guy's crazy.
yeah,
We're gonna be talking about holograms.
Yeah,
as a new
hologram. That is funny. What are your thoughts?
Just have the ability to become a weapon. Just learn how to
Yeah.
control it. Like
Yeah.
that's really it. I mean, like power's power. It's how to use the power. Are you using it for good, or are you using it for bad? Or are you using it like? Welcome to the Ethics Guild podcast. Today we have Freddy, an amazing artist, musician, carpenter, and all. He's all jack in all trades and a master at what he does. And yeah.
to that quote, right? I learned something new about finishing that quote, right? It's a jack of all trades and a master of none, but a jack is still better than a master of one. Meaning,
Because you know all the more
all
trades.
the things, yeah. So I thought that was
more
pretty
trades.
interesting. Yeah, kind of knowing a little bit about everything to sort of still complete a job at hand. So I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that definitely is. I like that quote. I like that quote too. I like diving into a lot of different things, and I like learn because you could also drag different specifications into one type of specification. So you take you utilize what you learned here, and then you add like a twist into here. I think that's where also some types of creativity comes from as well. It comes from the experiences, from different types of experiences. Let's say a boxer who did dancing. What if he pulls his dance moves out into boxing? That's just a different type of creativity. Just adding two different forms into it.
To build on that a little bit, I think that's so true, and I feel like in what I do, a lot of the things that I'm into sort of cross into each other. There is an overlap, and I'm starting to realize the connection between a lot of different things. Not essentially in the overall method, but just the approach. Meaning, if you go into certain things with an open mind and open heart, prepared to make the mistakes, you'll find what you're looking for in terms of the result that you want. When I'm doing spackling, let's say, and I'm just there in a sort of a zone, right? I'll listen to something like an instrumental, and from that there'll be a phrasing, or because of the scrape of the spackling, an idea of a word just comes to mind where it's like, wait a minute, I just made a connection here that goes a little bit deeper than the sound of spackling that I can maybe use as a line in my song. And I find a lot of moments to be like that. Same thing when I'm in some ways doing Jiu-Jitsu, right? When I'm training a little bit, and I'm not really good at it. I'm still a white belt. I've actually missed the last couple of weeks of class, and I know they're eager for me to get back to beat me up because of it. But I've noticed that when I'm even in Jiu-Jitsu, when I'm sparring with other individuals, I'm trying to perform like I'm performing on stage, right? Just even though I don't know what I'm doing, just having the confidence to be up there, to take on the challenge, to breathe, right? Slowly breathe between the bars, slowly breathe between the chorus into the verse. Same thing, right? When I'm in a clench, or I'm rolling and trying to get a submission of sorts, right? I'm just trying to find this moment of calmness where I can have an opening and then execute, same way when I'm singing, or just working carpentry, the way I'm holding tools, the way I'm explaining something to a client, right? Trying to find that balance of grace, assertiveness, and accuracy.
I'm curious to know, because it seems like you always experimenting to find more creativity. I'm actually curious because your artist name is Face Cadet. Where did that come from?
I'm still trying to understand it even now after I've had it now for that name for 12 years. I discovered it in California. First, though, when I was working at a call center in Westfield, I would come late to the call center, and I was a pretty big piehead back then. So I had like an afro, and you can already tell that I was a little high. And I would come into work, and everybody knew, and they'd be like, "Oh, Space Cadet's late. There he is." But because I was good at what I did, they never really fired me. But that Space Cadet sort of always kind of stuck with me. And then I moved to Cali and started making some music. And I was just trying to figure out, I guess, that name. And I converted the space to face because a lot of people always say I look familiar to them. And when I say familiar, it's a good thing, whether it be a friend, a family member, or just somebody that they might have seen in a moment's past, and it was like, oh, that was a good interaction, and you kind of reminded me of that. So, Face Cadet, sort of representing just that familiarity, but also kind of coming at things as a student. So, yeah, I think that's what that means. But I'm still understanding it still.
I like that.
But I like it. I think it's a useful name for sure, and it keeps me with that sort of same energy in my music.
Nice. Yeah, I love the Space Cadet too, because that's pretty dope too. Like, oh, I'm gonna wait for the ambulance. Sorry,
Get back that apple from the store, man.
Active.
I love names because like names are kind of like it's kind of like the branding like they have in this sense. It's like that Face Cadet is it reminds me a little bit like the Kid Cudi songs.
Oh, okay. Man on the Moon type.
Yeah, okay. Traveling the universe. Yes. And that,
space.
Yes, right. It's like the adventure and that.
Yeah.
So it's like that Face Cadet's kind of like that adventure into that realm of like of the music that you create. And I love that. I love how your music doesn't just only have like it's not just about the beat. It's also about the message that's in there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Lyrics are important. I think. Just it's funny. I feel at times. I do feel like I am myself, right? But am I just an amalgamation of things that are programmed inside of me, right? What I'm trying to say is like when I say things or do things or communicate, is that really me? Or is that the things that were installed in me while growing up? And when I tap into the essence of my writing, I feel, I don't know, but I feel that is the truest version of me, because I think it's my subconscious sort of keeping all this information in the back of my head, letting it stew, letting it marinate, sort of bringing it out in terms of my experience and how I interact with people and how I grow, right? Because then you start entering these thresholds of development and understanding where you're just like, oh, now I get it. Life is short. Oh yeah, 30-something years later, right? And so when I'm writing and I'm in that sort of channeling in that headspace, I find that like even when I'm done with writing, I'm just like, this feels so sincere and so true. And is this me? Is this who I am? Like, because there's the what's that, 3 versions of yourself? The way people look at you, the way you think you are, and what you really are, right? And sometimes I try to kind of dress those three things up in the way that I think it is, but it never really feels as true. It never really feels true only when I'm making music. I think that's when it's realized to me, like, wait, I think this is the person that's trying to come out of me right now.
I like that because when you're creating something, it's almost like you have to let things marinate in your imagination, but also in your emotions.
Yeah.
Because it all like builds together, and then when you start producing these ideas into something more tangible, you feel lighter. You feel like accomplished. You feel like you said, this is the real expression not only of who I am right now, but how was I feeling for the last 2-3 months, and how my experiences brought in all of this talent and and put it all together to express it through words, and then through music. I believe people take for granted how hard it is to bring inspiration out and then make it a tangible thing. Like, think about it. Have you guys ever thought about, like, take for instance Michael Jackson, Billie Jean. Have you ever thought, like, how did he created the beats, the music, the rhythm? Like, to me, that is pure, not only imagination, but inspiration and genius. And that's what people don't understand. Every musician has a genius inside of them that comes out in a way that is very unique. And you can't copy that. You cannot copy, like, when I write poems, I love writing books and poems. It's very unique to not only my experiences, but also how I felt through my life. You know, and it comes out and it merges beautifully. And then when you write it and you finally feel it, because you also go back and you scratch things, you're like, oh, no, this is not what I meant. But then when you finish, you feel so accomplished. You feel so good about it, and you feel light. You know, you feel so much lighter. Like, I was able to say all these things that I wanted to say. For example, the intro of our song is called Atlantis for the Ethics Guild podcast. So we value the fact that Freddy was so humble to let us use his inspiration as our intro song, and it would never change. No matter how big the platform gets, it would never change.
Well, hopefully I'll have better songs to give you.
For example, Atlantis, I'm pretty sure it will happen. But how did you start at Atlantis? Walk us through that journey.
Oh man, Atlantis is one of those slow burn tracks, and what I mean by that, like creating it, I had these couple of verses that were like different, but sort of I had a flow to them that was very it was very off time. And when I got the original version of Atlantis, it was through this producer named Brain Orchestra. I was able to buy the beat off of him. And it was definitely different from the version that you hear now, but I had these interesting verses that were very off time. And it kind of worked with the beat, the sequence a little bit, because the beat itself was at a high BPM. It was really hard to kind of sing or rap to. It's just a very arpeggiated sounding composition of music. But once I was able to really fall into the words a little bit more, that abstractness or that timing sort of changed a little bit, where it was able to kind of find its footing within the composition of the song, but there was still some sort of dissonance. So what I did was I went to my engineer and we recreated the instrumental to kind of almost match sort of my speed and the way that I was rapping the song or singing it. And I think that's what we did with a lot of my songs. I would either create a demo, buy a demo or a beat, or find something that I can write to a little bit, but then I would recreate the beat to match my tone, to match the way that I'm kind of rapping or singing the song, so that there was more of a cohesion with the composition. I feel like sometimes, sidebar, I feel like sometimes when rappers or singers just kind of go over an instrumental, and it wasn't meant for them, I always hear a little bit of a disconnect, because maybe the producer had an intention where it's like, I'm making this song because it's making me happy or sad, right? Whereas the singer or the writer of the lyrics is like, well, I'm writing about being sad, but the production is happy. So then there's a kind of a bit of a like a little light, I call it dissonance, right? But dissonance is more like sound, but it creates sort of this, like, it's not all there, it doesn't mend together. Well, I do, for that matter, and that's why I feel like it's important to kind of dress the beats up to how you're writing a little bit, right? So that people can digest it better. And not have this sort of dialogue where it's like, I get what they're saying, but I think the beat is too happy for their sad lyrics, kind of thing. But anyways, so once I had the final version of Atlantis, I kept working those lyrics, and now that I found the right background music or composition to kind of jump into, and ultimately, once I was done writing the song to its final result, I then was able to really see the song for what it was, and then I was able to finally do a last recording where I didn't change the words necessarily, but it was more like the inflection or the way that I delivered it or the way that I was saying it. There's, you could say I love you in like so many different ways. Saying I love you is just all dependent on your tone, right? And how you deliver it and your frequency. So same thing. So I had to really break down every bar, not just to change the words, but to like change the tone. And Atlantis is a song of warning.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was trying to emulate that a little bit. Like, we're good right now, but you got to understand there's something happening that's kind of taking us on this other path that might not be good for everyone. And I use the song or the title Atlantis to kind of help showcase that, right? Because we all know what happened with this great city that sunk, right? And so I think America plays into that really well. If you get a chance to see the video as well, I do kind of use this whole these two characters, one in black, one in white. White is essentially, I like to call it, they can be aliens, they can be angels, but they come down and they see this world, they see this reality, and it's wondrous, and it's vast, and it's big, and it's lively, and it's active. So in the video, you see me with smiles and curiosity, right? But then you see me in black, and that's me after being there for so long that, wait a minute, there's something off here. And I think there's a message, a warning, I must say, for everyone, so that they know like there's something not right here. And I think we should all look into this a little bit. But yeah, Atlantis is a very high impacting song. I love just the overall composition. I think it's one of those songs that I love to perform. Actually, all my songs I love to perform, and I think I'll never stop loving to performing those songs because of how long they took me to write. The album took me 10 years to put together.
Wow.
Right? And I've had these songs kind of just, like you said, marinating and stewing for years, just so that like I could really understand them. And I kind of understand them. I think they're still revealing themselves to me as I grow. I'm like, wow, I didn't know I knew that. And I did? That's wild. So it's like I'm talking to myself almost into the future while I'm talking to myself in the past and the present, which is kind of amazing. And I think that's why I love singing my words, because in some ways, not fully, but to me, it almost sounds prophetic.
Yeah, I don't know, Kevin, because to me, the song is very mystical. It has a lot of mystique.
Yes.
And when I was editing the video, like to promote it with the ethics goal, I found it so fascinating because it's almost like interdimensional, but at the same time it's very earth driven.
Yes.
Exactly. And then but it puts you in a place, especially the yelling part, right? The screaming part. It's like, are you asking for help, or what is it that you feel free? So you can interpret in those two ways, right?
Yeah.
And when I was editing it, I remember just being like, wow, this song has not only good lyrics, but the beat is so good that you can do anything with it, right? Yeah. So yeah, working editing on the video was something that opened my eyes to something you're saying, and I think that's what makes it hard to create music. Because, like you said, what is your real identity when you write something, then you want to sing it? Do you have to base it on the beat or not? And like you said, you edit the lyrics and your style into the beat. Because if you do it, if you're focused more of the beat, then how truthful is that to you?
Yeah.
Does it really connect? How do you feel, Kebs, when I told you, like, hey, this is the song? What was your thought?
I really like the song. I liked it. I liked the lyrics. I liked how it flowed into it, and I liked the tempos. Like there were like different tempos within the song. Like you had like these like strong like moments into it, and then these grace moments, and then it comes back in with like the strong message into it. I love that. But then I also like what you're saying, like how you created the song as well, like having the beat match up to the lyrics. Because like sometimes, I don't know, maybe out of my so what I see, I'm not too much of like a musician artist like that, but what I see is like artists would then rap or flow down to the beat as a control. Instead, you use the control as the lyrics and have the beat then flow into the lyrics. And I like that because that adds like another
That's a
twist
good
to
point of
it.
view, man.
Yeah. I like using my voice as an instrument.
And the other thing, because walking into that realm, there was something that I like what you said, Freddie. You said, even if you don't make it big, why stop?
Yeah.
And I was telling Kevin about that. We were talking about like you should hear what Freddie has to say about music, what it means. I wanted to ask you that, like, how do you get this concept, and what does music really mean to you?
Well, I think it's important that we all create. I do believe in God, and God is a creator. And if we are made in His image, then we have that essence of creativity, creation within us. And I think when we do that, we get closer to Him, to God. And so I think that's why I do it, because again, I feel like when I'm in that mindset, I'm tapping into something that's sort of allowing me to see myself for what I truly am. And I think if I can just leave something behind where, who knows, maybe 40, 50, 100 years down the future, where people are maybe looking back and saying, hey, what did 2025 sound like, right? And they go through the archives and they just so happen to bump into Face Cadet. And then there is this representation of a time and a place where somebody was truly being authentic, and they didn't like let other things drive them but themselves to make what they wanted to make, right? I kind of want to show that through my music or through what I do, that there is richness and there is fulfillment when you create and you do things not for others, but for yourself or for something greater, right? Like I call my music future music, because I don't know if it's meant to be heard in this kind of time and place. I'm glad that everyone does. Those that are around me appreciate it. They come out to the shows. It's not a really big crowd that comes, but it still makes my heart full when people sing along. But I think my music isn't for now. I think it's for harder times to come. And so I think that's something I always think about, and I think that's what I was put here to do, to sort of just let everyone know that it's gonna be okay, but you gotta do certain things for yourself. I don't know what that is. Each person has their own, arc, their own story they have to fulfill. But, by creating, by questioning, by being curious, and by not copying, emulating, being your true self, I think that'll reveal itself, and then you'll know how to move accordingly. But
Interesting.
Yeah, the music is just a simple, hey, stop what you're doing and just make sure you're doing what you need to be doing for yourself and for those around you. Stop listening to my music and go do that, right? That's it.
It's similar to what Kevin is doing. Like, 'cause Kevin can walk us through a little bit, like what Freddie is saying and what you're doing with the fashion. Collaborating with artists. Like, how do you view that? Is it similar, or do you think it represents in a little different way?
I think it is similar, because then with the artist, I'm trying to trying to spread the creative message. Like even if so you have artists that just love to create, just to create, and it's not like they're really getting like paid for creation. It's just that they just want to create, just to create work, and to get that feeling out, right? Because like when you're creative, you have that vision, that image that comes in, and you have to like portray it, express it out into the world. So a lot of the artists a lot of what I'm seeing right now is like a lot of AI artists, right, in the market. I'm seeing like a lot of like painters as well. So what I get to do with what I find interesting with the paintings is I get to give the painting another life, like another canvas to live on. And then for the AI artists, they're just making work to make work. It's not like it's commissioned work or stuff like that, right? So there's a way I could take their work and give it another canvas to live on, and possibly like spread that creativity around on just as simple as clothing, pushing the gallery space out into the streets, so it's not just contained by
I like that.
the four walls. Yeah, and there's different entries into the gallery, because there's also probably like a lot of artists that would love to get into the gallery space. Just the entry is just sometimes the entry is political. It's really about like sometimes it's about who you know, right? And then there's sometimes you have these contests, and like you can take the contest, but like really like the contests are like not as well. So like I try to get into the gallery spaces, but like even like hearing about the art market and the art market in the gallery space, it's such a weird market, because at the same time it's like there's not as many like policies in the art market, so like a lot of like money laundering goes through.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
So you have like this banana that sells on the wall for $25 million, and it's like, wait,
Your favorite, huh?
yeah, right.
Expensive potassium.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Can you imagine, guys, like how many genius artists are out there that just don't have a platform, and it's a waste of talent, because like Kevin is saying, sometimes you need the networking to have that platform. But think about like how many people are really talented. We have examples of that. We have Van Gogh.
Yeah.
Right, a great example.
Yeah.
Of that. Like if you think about it, like this man.
He has some tough skin. I'll tell you that though. To keep going.
Yes.
Oh, he had to pull it out of himself.
Yeah.
It was a must. It was like it's an itch.
and think about like from his perspective, that he was put in this art form that is very unique, and that nobody valued him until he wasn't there anymore.
Yeah,
and that's what happens sometimes. I would say a lot of times, even in our daily work. How many people really value you for who you are? And how many people can really see beyond who you are and see your talent, and then invest in them. We always want to invest on what's already made, but we suck at seeing projections. We don't see somebody's project. When I heard Atlantis, I was convinced that was the song for us. There was nothing was gonna change that. I told Kevin, you guys gotta give me the okay, and then with Autumn, and you guys were hands down. It's like, that's it. This is it. This is what represents us. Yeah. Like this is Ethics Guild plus Face Cadet.
That's
so,
awesome. Thank you again.
Let me open the door for
that does mean a lot.
Picture like how many wasted talent we have, because some artists are not understood. Like you're saying, there's a lot of musicians, artists that are way above their time, and they're not seen, and I'm thankful there are some artists that they were way above their time, and you get to hear their songs today. They sound like they just recorded yesterday. Yeah. Do you guys have like an artist like that you said like, man, this was done, like for example Nirvana?
Yeah.
Nirvana sounds like these guys just came out of the garage and produced it yesterday.
I feel, it's funny, like one of my favorite artists is Sixto Rodriguez. He is a first-generation Mexican that released music in the late 60s, early 70s. Sort of like a folk singer. He had like a hue of Bob Dylan a little bit, like that style. But to me, on a personal level, I thought he was better than Bob Dylan. I have mixed feelings about Bob Dylan. I think the only reason why I might like Bob Dylan is because my buddy Conrad does great covers of him. Mm-hmm. And so when he plays Bob Dylan, I'm like, oh, I can maybe center myself and then get back into like this whirlwind of obstacles, of challenges, right? So I think it's funny, like I think Atlantis does have a little bit of that. And Nirvana, System, they're definitely big influences in my music.
Oh, really?
Yeah. System was that whole album
That one was incredible, man.
Yeah, right. With I mean, the hits were great, like Ariel's, Toxicity, Chop Suey, but the other tracks, oh man, dude, very deep, very deep. Nirvana, same thing. A big band that I that I really loved growing up was Linkin Park.
Oh, Linkin Park, of course.
Linkin Park was my first actual concert. Yeah, my mom got me tickets, and I took my best friends, and we went to go see him. And yeah, it definitely did something to me watching them live and seeing them. And then I got to see him again with my wife, Sierra, in San Diego, which was awesome. So we got to see him twice in their original form. So that was a really a great experience.
I have a question for you guys.
Yes.
So, based on like the artist who creates the song, like and the artist who doesn't like the song that they made too much, right? But they send it out to the market anyway. But the market really loves it. Like, how can the artist go through? How do you go through that experience, or how can you even like determine how to like just to send it? Because sometimes it's just all about sending it without it even being perfect.
Well, Harry Potter, the writer for Harry Potter, didn't want to,
Really?
publish. Yeah, she didn't want to publish the book because she didn't think it was good enough. And I think it was her mom or somebody sent it to the publisher. Think about that, like.
Yeah, and it's just like a #1 book, and she was like, "Oh, dang, it's not prepped yet."
Yeah, exactly. She was like, "Oh, this is not good enough." But that happens, like when you write a poem, I think, or when you write a song, you feel like it's incomplete because the desire of perfection, because your feelings and what you visualize is perfect, and that to you, like there's no, you can't put out something that doesn't imitate that perfection.
Yeah.
And it's hard because a lot of people would see it as like, this is freaking amazing, man. It's like, what are you talking about? Nah, it's still missing something.
We're like our own toughest critics, and I think for me, how I go over those obstacles where it's like I'm trying to create something and I don't want to overdo it or overthink it, where it does sound good to somebody else, but because I'm trying to see it more or understand it more, or I try to do certain things more, then it becomes like I become a little deaf to it, right? And so what I think is very important when you're recording music is you got to kind of be in a ritualistic sort of mindset where it's like, okay, I'm committing myself to what I'm about to do, and whatever happens, right? And whatever you have to do prior to leading up, even if it takes you a couple of days, who knows? Like maybe I remember when I did my my album release, right, for 2022, I fasted for 3 days, right? I just fasted for 3 days just so that I can think about the intention of what I was trying to do for that show, right? And so, regardless of it sounding good to me or not, it doesn't matter, right? Because I'm committed to that date, that time, that moment. And whatever comes from it, I have to accept it. This is what I was building up towards. So if I'm going to make a song, I'm going into it knowing that whatever I do in that booth has to stay like that. And if I don't like it, if I do like it, it doesn't matter. That's what it was supposed to be. And I have to do everything on the back end to make sure that I'm okay with it, right? If I'm out drinking, smoking, or doing things that kind of take away from the creative process, and then I go to the studio, that's gonna do something to that song where when I'm listening to it, I'm like, yeah, well, duh, I was high and dumb and tired. Like, that is the byproduct of that, right? But if I go into it with like a whole heart, confident, focused, ready, I made sacrifices, then it's like, no, that's what that sounds like. And I think as long as you do that going into whatever it is you're making, you'll be happy with the byproduct, right? But if you're second guessing yourself in the midst of it all, it's because you didn't prepare, it's because you didn't take the proper measures to get your mind right, to get your soul right, right? Those things are all important in creating music. Music is magic. It's magic. Like, it does something when you're in your car, you press play to a track that you like, and then what does it do? It does something to your brain, your brain waves, chemicals, right, to put you in a mind state where it's like, okay, well, I'm trying to feel good right now, and this is the song that does that, right? So that's very important, and I think if you do things like that, then you'll be happy with what you do. Now, if a label is saying like, okay, we hear your album, it's a good album, but we need a hit. I mean, I've never been in that position, right? But I would probably do my darnest, my best, and I would figure out a way to make sure that it's me that's creating this hit single, even if it didn't. Even if the record label was like it's not it, then they're gonna have to wait or whatnot. But I wouldn't compromise that. You know that band that. She's my cherry pie.
Yeah.
I forget that band's name.
I know the song very well too. I don't know the name of the group.
But that band created an album, and the record label was like, "Well, listen, we got your project, it's good, but we need a hit. We need you to come up with a quick hit," and that was that song. And that's the song that they're known for, and they hate it. Imagine that, like to quickly muster up a quick hit so that it was palpable to the regular audience, the regular listener. Like, and that's what you're known for the rest of your life. And it's like, play that song, and it's like, I just wrote this song off the whim, off the cuff, like I didn't care about it. I was just trying to get my album out there, you know. Like I've got these other songs that are great. There's just one that needs to be a little polished.
It'll be funny if every time they hear it, they skip the song.
That could bring trauma. Listen, I think about artists that created some very crazy stuff in the beginning of their career, and I'm pretty sure them listening back, the cringe. I never want to feel like that with my music.
You know, like since you mentioned that, I don't know, Kevin, if you heard them, Andre 3000 and what was the name of the group?
Outkast.
Outkast was a heavy rap.
Yeah.
Like they were hardcore rap. For those that I don't know, Kevin, you're a little younger than us, but Outkast was big.
Yeah.
You know, Outkast was big, but they were known for their pop songs, not so much for their hardcore rap.
Yeah.
If you go back to the 90s,
yeah,
you hear Outkast, you're like, there's no way this is Outkast.
Yeah.
Like, but that's what they went, and they went from that market to the pop market, because that's where the money was. But this is a question I have for you, Kev, because you work with all these artists and you're creating a different canvas. When you go and when you're finding these artists that you want to collaborate with, what is it that you're looking for? Because beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? And like Freddy's saying, like, you're a group and you might put all these songs that you love, and then you put something out and everyone loves it, right? And so my question to you, Kev, is like, what do you look for? What is it that makes you fall in love with the art forms when you go look for it? Sorry for the complex question.
Yeah, this is great. I like when the artist has a style that goes on into it. I like they have like a specific kind of like style that they have, because then it shows like that they're there's different stages of artists that I go for. So the beginning artists, I like the effort. So the effort that they put in. So sometimes you can see the effort that's like put into a certain work, and I just need a little bit to translate what that work was like. So in the back end, I talk to them a little bit, and I try to get like their title and their artist statement. And some artists, like, they don't know how to develop artist statement just because they weren't formally trained on an artist statement and stuff like that. So I'll try to like pull like a little bit of artist statement out from them. So that's like with the beginning artist. Intermediate artist, I like seeing their style. So above from effort with the middle ones, it's stylizing with the middle. Above from effort with the beginning ones, it's stylizing with the middle ones, and how they develop their style. Like I like seeing how an artist maybe uses like oranges as their main color, or another artist that has like a figure and they play around with the figure, or another artist that does abstraction that's similar to kind of like a painting that I saw. So sometimes it wraps up into like similarities that I find in artists that like this painter did a painting with a 50 square grid. So in the painting it was 50 squares where they did an oil. And then and that one took a while. That took that one's like really tedious work into it, and it came out beautifully. Pulled the art statement, pulled all that out, and that's how I got to know that it was a painting that took about 50 hours just to make, because it was just her doing oil painting. And then the other artist was the one that was an AI artist that looked similar to the one that was the painting. But it was more abstracted, but it didn't have like those fine details. So pulling from both, it was interesting to see. So I guess like what I try to find in artists is does the work look cool? that's one.
Well, the work has to speak for itself, no?
Yeah.
And like it is in the eye of the beholder. But if the work is done beautifully, then it'll automatically speak to you and everyone, whether it be good or really, really, really good. Because for the most part, it wouldn't be bad, right? If it's doing something.
That brings it to a question, right? Because you were talking about hits, and Kevin is trying to identify hits. What is considered a hit? Is it popularity? Because again, we can say, oh, this song is a hit based on popularity. Cool, but is it really a hit? Like, for example, you gave a great example about that band. They created a hit, but for them it wasn't a hit.
Yeah.
You know, I could consider, and obviously I'm going to go up here, right? I'm pretty sure Michael Jackson knew this was going to be a hit. Like, okay, I did this work. Thriller, yeah, hit. The other thing, right before you answer these questions, is also, you ever heard the song, I got this fear now, somebody's watching.
Yeah.
The song is not even Michael's song, it's his friend Rockwell.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
This guy did just the hook. And that song became it's amazing. Like, you know, his friend trusting him to say, hey, I got this song. And he so humbly went to the studio and said, I'll help you out a little bit. But the hook of that song is amazing by Michael.
Yeah.
Like, but that's what I'm saying. What is considered a hit for you guys?
I think a hit is when you're able to capture a moment in culture that everybody recognizes and everybody is kind of up to speed with, right? So like if you're saying a certain saying in a certain type of way that really embodies the time and place where the movement is, then it becomes a hit because people can listen to it and be like, yeah, I know what he's talking about. Right? So I think that's what makes a hit. So you just gotta capture the time and place where everyone is at the moment, and then now to make something timeless, right?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a very good point. A hit and something timeless.
Yes.
I like that.
So to make something timeless is something that you can take out of the culture and then sort of structure it where it's like, well, this is the wisdom part of it, or this is the deeper part of it, or this is what it can kind of roll into. And so I think if you were to create a hit, it's you trying to capture where the crowd is at the moment. And something timeless is something that you can take from the moment and kind of make it circle itself back around, you know, to like the genesis or leading into the end.
Very. What about you, Kev?
That's great. That's great because like the distinguishing difference between the hits and timelessness is like a hit's just popular in that moment. Timeless will just go on throughout.
The Beatles.
Yeah, right. Definitely. I think like so I'm into like a lot of visual arts. I think something that classifies as a hit visually is something that just might be that's trendy, like a graphic that just ends up to be trendy for
Like Bape, like that Bape.
Yeah, like the Bape
stuff.
Yeah, like those graphics that come through. Like those are just hits. Those wouldn't be like timeless. Like something that's timeless, kind of like Banksy's work is kind of like time. Is it kind of like a hit but timeless at the same time because it's historic? His work. He just changed the way graffiti was, and he just did a different spin on graffiti. But visually, it's for something to be timeless. It has to be something that like you reflect back on visually and just see out in the world, or see it and interpret it out in the world in different ways. I think that's like a visual timelessness. That's kind of like Van Gogh's Starry Night. Like that's visual timeless. Yeah,
Picasso, Salvador Dali.
Yeah,
Salvador Dali, abstract is crazy.
Yeah.
That guy was thinking of melting. Yeah, he's like a melting. So, that's what I was going to ask too. Because if you think about classical music, like you go to the pianos, like I love Eric Satie, Beethoven, Mozart, which is to me one of the, I think, top one of all time, and then their music is just so beautiful that, you can even take some of that and put it into a hip hop song, and it sounds beautifully. That's how timeless it is. The other thing I wanted to mention was looking at paintings, right? There's some paint that look like somebody just went there, just threw like a few kids of paint, and suddenly it's a masterpiece. I wonder again. Excuse my ignorance. I'm an expert in something else, but not an expert in art. But I just wonder, what is the beauty that they see in that kind of art?
I think that's just the state of consciousness at the current moment, right? Like, I think we're so... Art is getting uglier, right?
Yeah.
And I think there's something deep about that. Like, really...
just Kevin's expressions, like, I just, like... Let's go to Marcel Bear painting and just throw yourself on top of the canvas.
Yeah, literally. Contemporary is weird. Because like that's not, I wouldn't really consider that like artwork. It's like it's a play. It is a play with conscience. It's like, oh, how do I? In a sense, they try to like say that they're tapping into something, but it's like
tapping into some money, man.
Yeah, they really are. It's like, because they're not really I wouldn't really consider them tapping into something by drawing. Like where it's like if you could do that at home, and like if your 5-year-olds could do that, like what is the skill? Like what's the skill really behind that?
Oh, you guys want?
Kevin just killed the art.
No, but what I thought of, like a little conspiracy in my head. What if, right? What if, like, let's say I was a very anxious person, a very like paranoid person, right? And that's what I put on a canvas, right? And somebody who has money, wants to buy that sort of like at top dollar. Like, I want somebody's stress on a canvas, and I just want to hang it up because like that's maybe how somebody with everything sees the world, or that's what they want to kind of keep pushing, right? Like they want to buy just these low vibrating feelings and just have it placed, in somewhere in their home to kind of
like an emotional statement room.
Right. But I just feel like that's the state of humanity right now. I mean, it looks very like the Atlantis music video. You come down, it's like all buildings and billboards and lights, right? But then you kind of start picking up on these little nuances of like dread, anxiety, confusion, fear, right? Emptiness. And I think there are big players that want to keep pushing that sort of statement or that frequency. And people, if you're doing stuff like that, then they'll put you at the head of the line when it comes to any art medium, and buy that and take that from you and kind of just keep pushing that sort of, I don't want to call it an agenda. This is just a theory, like just from the conversation that we're having, right? But that could be what's happening, low key. I don't know. It's just I feel like art is getting ugly, and
art influences culture. It kind of influences culture, and
it's a reflection, right? It's the state of where we're at.
Yeah, definitely.
I was gonna ask you guys, like, what do you think inspires most? Sadness or happiness? Because if you listen to a lot of songs that are sad, those are the ones we normally you find more commonly and you identify depending on the moment you are in life than, for example, like because I'm happy, which you don't hear too many songs about real happiness. What are your thoughts, guys?
That's a good question, man. Like, so yeah, sad songs do sell the most. I think it's like love songs are first, and then sad songs or breakup songs are
Definitely.
right.
Or pour some sugar on me, man. But
What's a really
favorite strip club
What's
song
an
of all
awesome?
time?
What's like an awesome happy song?
Pharrell, because I'm happy.
Because that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I think it's the only real. I don't know. I'll let you guys answer. I'll go last.
Yeah, it's very true. I think when it's what emotions are people hold on to the most, right? When people think about their days, they think about like their struggles of the days, their happiness of their days, and it's kind of like it goes down into the heart of the heart of the person, right? And like how can it's a lot of people reflect on the bad, but like I think that's only human nature as well, because we can always improve the bad. So I think a lot of people will reflect on the bad as a point, but then a lot of people won't reflect on the good and stuff like that. So it's like it goes down to even like prayers and gratitude. Like there's a reason why we always had to remind ourselves to be gracious and pull ourselves into gratitude. Like a lot of the agendas, like industries that try to push down the bad and just try to get you into a low state. It's like happy songs bring you to a happy state, and you wish you to be more productive and all stuff like that. But I think it's hard. It goes down to the person's heart, and if they want to gratitude songs, it's like how do you have that?
But it's funny because think about this, right? The 70s was about happiness and peace. And a lot of people hated disco because disco was a representation of being in a happy, harmonious state of mind.
Yeah.
You know, what are your thoughts? Like, it's like almost like people wanted to get back to like sad songs again.
Well, maybe it's. So, I guess again, when we're programming ourselves with the things that are given to us at birth and we grow into those things, I think it's naturally within us to kind of be okay with these sad songs because I think we're sort of used to it.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I don't know if the hertz, I've never really looked into it. You know how they say like music these days are in a hertz, it's tuned into like a...
like 369 hertz.
I mean, I think it really is just a state that we're all in, and I think it might be something that we're not seeing that's there on purpose to make us want to kind of be in this sad state. I think the only place that you find happy music is at like a church of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the only place. But then that frequency kind of, for a lot of people, makes people feel like, oh, this is corny. This is too
much for me.
Right. So I don't know. That's I don't know if it's programmed in us or if it's just a natural thing. I mean, a lot of nihilists would think, oh, that's just human beings. That's how we're built. You know. I kind of think, I don't think so. Just because I try every day to not be that. Right. Look at the bright side. And I think you hear that a little bit in some of my songs. A lot of my music is not necessarily happy. It's all about the big push, the push back, right? Because I feel like we're all kind of being stepped on in many different ways. You know, we get these little, I get this echo of just like, you can't with everything that I do. And it's like, wait a minute, hold on. But I think I can. So why am I having these this thought pattern of doubt, of not believing? So I don't want to subscribe to this. I want to see if I can, and so I think my music really reflects on that. It's hard for me to make happy music. I feel like I am in some ways a happy person, but I know that the truth of the matter is that this life isn't really for me. This is only for me. This is me speaking for myself and what I think about. It's not really meant to be happy. It's meant to be hard, right? Even with all the conveniences we have, sooner or later we're going to realize all these conveniences in life is a bit detrimental, and I think it's going to compound over, and we're going to realize, like, once we're in a small room with just a TV because that's what we want is the screen, then we're going to realize, like, wait a minute, I think being outside is the better thing, not being in here, right?
No.
But
Segregated.
right. So I think right now to be happy, to make happy music, the world isn't built for that right now.
I want to hear Kevin's thoughts because I have like a psychological evaluation about it, but
I think like suffering is always a part of life, and life is kind of suffering and go through suffering. Happy songs are ways to kind of get through sufferings in a different style. And then kind of like sad songs are kind of just to be, I guess, to go with the motions into sufferings. Like happy songs are for the peaks of the mountains. Like sad songs are kind of the ones where you're climbing through in the mountains with it.
I like that. Peak of the mountains.
That's a interesting point of view, Kevin. Because like if you listen, and just to piggyback on what you were saying before I even express what I wanted to say, was like you guys, when you watch Rocky the first time, didn't that song, like, because at the beginning it's sad, you know, you watch Rocky, he can't even finish the run, and then they make that song kind of like depressing because he can't fulfill the run, he's not focused, and then suddenly, you know, I was actually watching a video of the making of the song. So they didn't have enough budget to do it, so that's why the song is so simple. And then they were like, something is missing, and that's when they added the vocal part. Keep on trying. I think it says keep on trying, something like that. I forgot what it says exactly. And that made the song. But now if you listen to it and you're watching the movie, you feel that energy of that character. So the impact it has, you know, because now you don't feel sorry for him. Now you feel empowered by it because he's empowered. He's feeling victorious, and that's being transmitted to you. And you know, looking at this from a psychological perspective, most people write about their past. And what is it that you find mostly in the past? There's a famous Spanish writer that said, for us, every moment in the past was always better than the present.
I think a lot of people reflect. It's like you hear. So I was listening to something in the car while driving over, and it was like, people that go to casinos are still listening to the old bands, and they still get so happy about the bands because like they lived their happy years in the past. And it's kind of like a lot of people reflect on their happy years of the past rather than trying to make the present the happy, or even reflecting on like the future for happiness. Like that's an interesting point because I haven't really heard an artist talk about the future, like what they're gonna like could come after.
Even the rapper Future doesn't talk about the future. You might want to reassess your name.
I'm pretty sure if you were to rap about the future, you're probably like, it probably wouldn't be rapping like sad about it. 'Cause it's like, who would want to build themselves
It would
so
be
sad?
mysterious, probably.
Yeah.
Because the mystery of the future is unknown. So you would probably talk about things like, this guy's crazy.
Yeah.
We're gonna be talking about holograms.
Yeah,
I think they're based
hologram.
Yeah.
That is funny. What are your thoughts, Freddy? Like if somebody like start talking or singing about the future, and are we ready for that?
I think so. Just because of just being desensitized a little bit with just how movies and shows sort of kind of give us an idea, a depiction of what that looks like. So I think in some ways we are ready. I think we've seen holograms, right, recently with some of these live performances. Tupac. Who was the other there was another artist that they used the hologram.
I think they did for
Effect.
Michael Jackson
Yes,
too.
yeah.
Michael Jackson,
So
yeah.
it's there, and just like it happened, it was like a little bleep in the radar, and that's it, you know. So I think us listening to it will probably be interested, but not like it wouldn't be mind blowing. I think.
What about you, Kevs?
Maybe we talk about the future. Maybe I think maybe some people will be intrigued by it. Like, oh, what is this guy talking about? But then it's like when the future comes, and then when it's there, it's like, oh, it was it was like The Simpsons. Look, he was rapping about it.
Yeah, maybe our parents, like our parents and our aunts and uncles, go, oh, what is this?
What is this?
This person appearing in my house, digitized.
What about music that connects from a movie? Like, for example, like Rocky is a good example. You know, like the music is so important in a movie because it gives it like, take away the music from a movie, what you think that would look like?
Yeah, like the composition is just as important. Like it helps carry sort of the art or the movie, like Star Wars, right? Jurassic
The
Park.
orchestra.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know,
Interstellar.
Interstellar. Oh
yeah.
Interstellar music is kind of like, you're like, it's like, am I in a dimension right now? Like,
That's what it sounds like. Yeah.
You know, what about you, Kev? What are your thoughts?
For those movies, it's like if you take it like with Eye of the Tiger, like if you take that out of the side of any karate movie, yeah, right, like that goes to like any karate movie, like.
You go at the gym, you're all pumped up, thinking like you're like Rocky Balboa.
Yeah.
You can't even lift a 10-pound weight at that
Montage.
The other thing that I think of is like also like lyrics, the impact of lyrics, because you also like there's people that don't have the production team to do like the hot beat that sells quickly, but then you have somebody like Nas. Like Nas, you can take away the beat and he will still sound good. Like Biggie Smalls, I think it's the same aspect. Like you take away all the beat, he'll make the beat out of his flow. So Tupac is the same, a great example. He was more poetic, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, Dear Mama to me is a really good song from Tupac. Like it's hands down. What do you guys think about?
So yeah, I think nowadays a lot of artists rely on production to sort of carry most of the weight, and it shouldn't be that way. I think production is a good baseline for you to be on top of, and you kind of dictate and direct the energy, the flow as the singer, as the songwriter, with the lyrics and your flow. Yeah, so I think a lot of artists these days really do rely on the beat. It's their crutch. But I do like rappers, artists that sort of have a really simple kind of cutback instrumental that kind of helps give you an idea of the tone, but allowing their raps, their storytelling to sort of bring you there, right? So.
What about you, Kev?
Artists that have that work with the beat, right? Or artists that like. Can you repeat it? I'm sorry.
So like you know, like for example, there are certain artists that their lyrics are so good that they don't like you can remove the beat and they will still sound really like they are the tempo of the music, no matter what platform you put it. So that's why I was asking, like, what are your thoughts about like people with that kind of talent?
Oh, I love that. I love the people that have that kind of talent, like where their lyrics are kind of like that flow, because then they could kind of be placed anywhere. Like I forgot what his name was. Juice WRLD. Juice WRLD's a great example of that because he could just have like he was lyrical. Like a lot of his songs were lyrical, and he could be thrown onto any beat and just start producing and just start just having his lyrics get thrown through. Mac Miller was great lyrical artist as well. And even like I like Hobson too. Hobson has like great messages. I think like the beat adds on to their message.
Yeah.
Like the lyric is like really like where it is, and then it adds on like using their lyrics as like the control value rather than the
I like
beat
that. I actually like that because it reminds me of that song "Hurt." I don't know if you guys are familiar with the song "Hurt." It was done by this rock band, 9 Inch Nails, and then Johnny Cash was old, and he sang the song, and it almost sounded like he made the song. Like actually, the group was like, "Bro, go ahead, interpret it." If you listen to it, he transformed the song, like the group transformed it into being in pain and hurt and all that. But then Johnny Cash takes it and it gives it another tone, and it's the same lyric. It's just Johnny Cash singing it, and it's such a beautiful song. And both, don't get me wrong, they're both good, from the band, from that group, and Johnny Cash. But Johnny Cash takes it into like, I guess like a deeper understanding without the noise, and it's incredible when you hear it. You're like, damn, like this guy really sang his heart out there on this song, although it wasn't even written by him.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to go into another topic, Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
You know, you're being a white belt, you're training. I want to know a little bit more about what inspired you to go there, and you always say like I go there to learn, but a lot of that learning has to do with being beat up.
Yeah.
So walk us through that.
Well, okay, disclaimer, I'm not good, all right, but I've been doing it for a couple months. I actually took the last 3 weeks off, which is not good.
Well, they're gonna when they see you.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because Adrian, one of my buddies that I train with, he actually works down the block from Sierra from another school, and so I see him, and he's like, "Yo, where you been at?" Just like that. Like, yo, you're not gonna come 6 a.m., bro? I'm the only one over there suffering. So, yeah, no, I gotta come through. Like, the coaches keep checking in, like, what's going on, Fred? I just kind of been on like this. Been working a lot, but I also been like on this honeymoon. Even though me and my wife been together for so long, we like redid our vows, and we just kind of been spending a whole lot of time together.
That's important, man.
So like, yeah, I kind of been on my in my lovey-dove state. Maybe they gotta knock it out of me. And I'm gonna tell them like, what have you been? I'm like, I'm a sucker for love. I'm a sucker for love. But no, like I gotta say though, Jiu-Jitsu has definitely been a great little journey, a little side quest, as you will, in my life. I think it's teaching me to be familiar more with my body, and like, again, breathing, right? I think I mentioned this earlier, like teaching myself how to calm myself when I'm performing, when I'm in the midst of something that's high intensity, that is drawing a lot out of me, and if I can just keep my mind quiet and just breathe, like it's kind of like getting me in tune with just like the rawest version of myself, right? Because you're in this sort of fight or flight, but I'm fighting, right? You know, you can't really run away from these sparring situations. But man, I gotta say, like it's definitely changed my life a little bit. It's made me respect people more. I think it's calmed my road rage down, because like I'll be in there thinking like, there's no way this guy can flip me, and wrong, you know. So it's like anybody can, like, you know, kick your butt. So you gotta, you know, be considerate and like really know that there's some silent warriors. So for one, it's taught me respect, right, in that regards. But I gotta say, you know, there's something special about training at 6 a.m. Just 1 hour, because like you're walking in like this, and then once you get like thrown, you're like, okay, I'm up. What's next? And your brain is starting to process. It's like, okay, Fred, you can't get hurt because you gotta work and make money, right? So like, be smart, be wise, be calculative, right? So all these things are going through your mind. So like, you're starting the engine up quick, and then by the end of the class, you're just like, oh yeah, it's only 7 a.m. and the hardest part of my day is done. So everything else kind of comes a little bit easier. Like, I feel like myself calm when I speak to clients, when I'm in a frantic work environment, when I'm like dealing with just something I don't want to deal with. I'm like, so what? Who cares? Like, I made it through the day. And so it definitely helps calm me down. It's so funny, like starting like that, just so charged up, so revved up, and it kind of really dictates the rest of my day. And it dictates it in such a good way. I've made some really good bonds with my buddy Conrad and Adrian. Same thing with Coach Leo. Those guys are awesome. They've they've allowed me to kind of learn with them, and they've been patient with me, and that's why they want me to be there. Like, why am I not there? Because, like, you know, they've seen my growth. I got to do my first competition last year. I lost both my matches, but it was so much fun. I felt very accomplished. I felt like, whoa, what's a 38-year-old guy like competing in a jiu-jitsu tournament so late in the game? Like, just why not? Let's let's just give it a shot, you know?
Yeah.
And I learned a lot from it. It made me a better person, I think, and it just makes me feel a little bit more confident with everything that I do, you know?
Cool.
So, yeah, no, I really appreciate that right now, currently. I gotta go back.
Will you do something like that, Kev?
Yeah, I got myself into Muay Thai. yeah, that was been great for sure.
Yeah. I did a little bit of Muay Thai too before I did Muay Thai, then I tried Judo, and then Jiu-Jitsu, and now I'm just gonna stick with Jiu-Jitsu.
Nice. Yeah, I've been liking Muay Thai. Muay Thai's been fun. So far, I took this month, February, off from it, just because I had to redo it. I put my plan on freeze just for now. It was slow season. yeah. So next season.
Honeymoon too.
Suckers for love right now.
All of us gonna be like, oh, sweetheart. By the way, his girlfriend named him, and this is something we have to take it serious, bro. In an episode we recorded, and we found the perfect man, bro. His girlfriend called him the perfect man. You know we're called knuckleheads.
Yeah.
We're not called ever. So, like, when we aired that episode, we were laughing so hard. It's like, oh my God.
Perfect. That's a big title right there.
There was a question that raised. This is hilarious. There was a question that's like, yeah, so how do you, in the relation, how do you maintain it? So Kevin was saying something like down the lines, like, yeah, at the beginning it's like it's a want versus a need, and me and Justin was like, the perfect man status is gonna be out. It's like gets rejected. But then he went in really well.
All right, good.
He was safe. But it's just that moment. I can't forget.
What's he about to say? What is about to come out of your mouth?
I can't forget that moment, man. It's like Kev's no reject button needed for Kev. Go ahead.
You were smooth.
I like it.
The Muay Thai and I'm sorry.
You're good. No, that's funny.
Muay Thai is a young man's sport. I mean, I'm a young man too, but it's more of a destructive martial art.
Yeah, it definitely was. Like the training in it, it's like being digital work and sometimes being active physical, like I barely got to move my body, right? So I'm always by the computer, or and I needed to get myself to go outside again. So
you don't use it, you lose it, right?
Yeah, literally, use it, you lose it. So the way I just wanted to get back into a sport or something, get back into just move my body, and I went to the tutorial classes. I was gonna do a jiu-jitsu tutorial, and they taught me how to fall on my back, and I was like, okay, it seems pretty good. And then I did the Muay Thai tutorial, and I was like, oh, I like the striking. I was like, there's ways to get combos in it, ways to get a little bit creative in it. And jiu-jitsu, by all means, you get creative in it as well. But in the streets, and so being wedding photography too, I travel states, different states, so I'm far away from home. I also need to learn how to protect myself.
That's important.
Yeah, that is very important.
It's important.
If I get into anything that's outside of my vicinity, my premises, because I goes deep, it's really deep. Sometimes 100, sometimes 120 to 200 miles, 300, the furthest I went was 400 miles away. Yeah, right? I learned how to keep myself safe. So Muay Thai was one of those ways where I could learn how to be a trained fighter, and if there's not a trained fighter around and to get into a fight, it's fine, I had my tools, I had my weapons.
Yeah.
The guns.
That's the same reason why I did martial. I got into a street fight at the dog park, and so yeah, like after that, I was like, nah, I can't let somebody touch me like that again. And I went to train, you know?
Yeah, it's important to learn it because, like, even like if you get any street fight, and, like it's important to learn martial arts because there's disciplines in it. You give yourself like the ability to become like you also give yourself the ability to become a weapon. Just learn how to control it. Like that's really it. I mean, like power is power. It's how to use the power. Are you using it for good or are you using it for bad? Are you using the like yourself as a weapon to protect yourself and to protect others, or are you using yourself as a weapon to harm yourself and to not harm yourself, to harm others, right? Like it's how you use what you have, and your body is one of those powerful tools. It's a weapon to have. Like you don't only need like knives and a gun. Like you could also like you could essentially you could kill with your body, but it's just like don't kill your body. Train it. Like train it how you don't get to those points. Like train it where you could get to points where you could like injure somebody if needed. Hurt like and that's the most like injured, but like hurt like it's like learn how to hurt somebody so they just like back off, and then like injure is like just so you could walk away safely.
Don't let Kev fool you. He also skateboard. Like you should see.
You
should see Kevin, man. Like Kevin was like Kick Butowski.
Yeah, I love it. I'm about to go skateboarding after this.
Kev's is like very active, so I don't think he's sitting. He's probably skateboarding as he's editing and doing all these things.
Crossing in the wind like that.
There's like a nice little, ramp somewhere in the kitchen.
Yeah,
whatever. All them crazy
What's up, man? You stop doing that? The floor's laminated. Bent it.
You gotta keep the record of the perfect man, Kevs.
We
can't lose you, bro. We can't lose you.
That's not perfect thing to do, I guess.
Don't screw it up for us, bro.
Facts. Keep it alive.
No, but it's interesting to hear about like the importance of like because also martial arts is an art form too.
It's art.
Yeah, it's definitely art. But it's just like you're using your body, your mind. But for example, you can also use it a lot for therapy session. For example, people that procrastinate. This is something that is very useful. What do you do? Somebody that procrastinate all the time. Teach them a discipline. Because, for example, for you to learn Jiu-Jitsu, boxing, Muay Thai, what do you need? Discipline. You need to understand that you start from zero, and it humbles you too. It makes you self-aware of where you are.
Yeah.
And if you ever want to be a yellow belt or a red belt, whatever, you start from zero, and it humbles you too. It makes you self-aware of where you are.
Yeah.
And if you ever want to be a yellow belt or a red belt, whatever, you have to commit to yourself first. Not even commit to the place where you're going to train. You got to commit with yourself first. Right? Understand that there's going to be a lot of consequences. You're going to be rolled onto the floor, choked every day.
Yeah.
You're going to be put in all these imminent dangers. But at the end of the day, what matters the most is you started to trust in yourself. You start building confidence. So it's a great way of doing therapy. For example, I use, I boxed since I was 8. And one of the things I do during therapy sessions is that. It's like, I'll teach you the basics of boxing. Why? Because certain people don't have the discipline. But when they start being disciplined through this art form, they started to notice that it takes a lot of commitment to learn, but because it's cool and it's a new skill set, they'll do it. But then when they start learning it, they start to understand like this is so difficult to do, and it's painful, and it takes a lot of time, and it also I have to run a lot. I have to condition myself. But I'm learning something that is so useful to me. And if you're able to start building confidence in yourself by doing something completely unknown, now you have some sort of understanding, and now you feel stronger. It builds your confidence, but it also helps you identify that in order for you to do this, you need to take the leap of faith. And that is where a lot of people that procrastinate have a hard time, is to take that leap of faith and take into action and discipline yourself. And this is a great mechanism, and it sucks because at the beginning everyone thinks like, oh yeah, I'm going to start boxing, I'm going to hit the punching bag. No, it's like you got to learn how to walk. Yeah, so for example, the first 3-4 weeks is just you're walking back and forward, and then on week 4 all you're adding is a jab. Why? Because those are the basics. Like you teach them the importance of the boring stuff, because a lot of people want to do all the cool stuff without going through the boring stuff too. But that's where the discipline teaching comes in. What are your thoughts, guys, like about that? Kevin?
Yeah, I love that, because discipline, it's important. Muay Thai, any martial arts would teach that discipline, because at first you don't know, like at first you just like you're learning. There's so many capabilities, so many possibilities that you could go down, and when you're going against people who have learned it and they've already gone with the possibilities, capabilities, they have a better perception to that. To basically, they see where they could pull off a move that you're learning onto you, because they see where your blind spot is. But like as the newbie, you don't really know what that blind spot is. You don't really know even how to exploit the blind spot, because you're still learning. But like the people that have gone through it, like they seen it. So like in the beginning, you do get beat up more than you could beat up. Because then you're going through the process. Iron sharpens iron.
That's a good way of putting it. Iron sharpens iron.
Yeah, it's disciplines. It's a lot of disciplines that goes into it. So it's important. It's important. Iron will sharpen iron, and then like it's good that they go tough on you too. It's just asking. Like I'm pretty sure if you ask them too, like, oh, what did you do? Like, how did you see that? They'll explain it. I remember this one guy, so in the sparring session, like I was getting beat up, but I was still holding my own during it. But he's tall too, and I was like, I think I can take it out. I'm a tall guy. So I was looking at it, I was like, well, it's fine. We were just like, because we were going around a second. I was like, all right, but and I knew I was like outmatched for me. I was like, can I just hold my own from it? So then. After class, I asked him like, what exactly did I do wrong? What exactly should I go through, or like what is some technique that I could learn at least, right? And he told me like right after a hit, like right after you do like the block and a hit, just throw. So like he'll throw one of the like kicks right at me, so I'll have to do a block and then just throw along with the same hand. Because then just the reaction time is just like, person's still finding balance, person's still pulling back, just give it a nice throw. And I'll take some of those hints into the next one match, and they went so through. So iron sharpens iron. I had to like recognize like, hey, he was doing that on me, to then be like, oh, I could do it again. So
I think learning fundamentals is like the most important thing, right? And that's the discipline that I think is so if you discipline yourself to just take in all the fundamentals, those pathways start to open up in such a way that once you have that muscle memory, you can then expand on it in that, like, instantly, right? So if like you know what you got to do because of the sequence that's happening, and you go through the basics, if you do it enough, I think from there, like an artist, you're able to kind of like, well, if I come at it like this with a different stroke, then maybe I get this result from it. But as long as you have those core elements within you, I think it'll start to expand and open up. I'm a real believer of like, when you master something is only when you're really starting to begin it, right? Because from there it's like, okay, you know everything, but now how do you add your signature? How do you take this art form and bring it to the next level? So yeah, if you can discipline yourself to master that thing, the basics, just the core basics, I think from there, you won't be tied down to anything, and just kind of allow yourself to evolve within that space, right? And then create something new from it.
I like that, because also what makes a great fighter, what makes a great fighter versus a good fighter is that a great fighter becomes unpredictable. Because, for example, you master a craft, and now that craft helps you win fights. Like an uppercut, like good example, Mike Tyson's uppercut. Deadly, right? Like he was just knocking people. If you do it so many times, what happens? They're gonna start being like, okay, he moves like this. They start figuring you out.
Yeah. They can count it. They can measure it.
Exactly, they can measure it, right? And I never forget when I was a kid, and he lost to Douglas.
Oh.
The Douglas fight, and I watched it, and I was like, how? Like this guy was. But now that you get older, you start studying. You're like, he was just jabbing him and jabbing, and he was just punishing Tyson. If you watch the fight, he was punishing Tyson. And why? Because Tyson became one. Unfortunately, he didn't train well, but he was predictable already with his movements, because that was all that he learned from Cus D'Amato, right? But also, Cus taught him very well. Like he learned that, and it was a beautiful craft, but there was not another addition to. Like if you evaluate Muhammad Ali, on the other hand, he went from being super fast, right? His hands were super fast. He can dance around. He can dodge. Amazing punches, like from a very short distance. But then as he lost the speed, he implemented another skill set, which was I'm going to learn how to block better. So there's a difference, right? I'm not saying Tyson isn't one of the greatest. Tyson's up there.
Yeah.
But that's what made him different than Ali. Ali was able to evolve and create a new craft into that. Not only Ali was a great human being, for what he did to the world, but how many fighters do you see that evolve through time and don't only, I would say, rely on the craft that made them famous or that make them so good? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think a perfect embodiment or representation of that, or a person who did that, was Bruce Lee, right? Like that is, I think,
That's a good example, Freddy.
The epitome of what that is, right? I think he taught that to everyone. Like there is no style. It's just your style. It's whatever you come out, whatever comes out of you, what you formulate. And I think that's why he had a lot of pushback from all the masters back in the East, right? Like all the martial artists who were like, wait a minute, you're taking what we've taught and you're like breaking it down and restructuring it so different, and they didn't like that, right? But it goes to show you, like like what he did on that level was so impressive. Like it was almost like deity form. Like he was like, like
he like water.
Yeah, lowercase God form. Like he was really tapped in.
Yeah, that's really nice too. It's cool when they get tapped in like that too. Because like what we were talking about in the beginning of the show, like the jack of all trades, the master of none, more better than a master of one.
Well,
yeah, it's because you pull from this specialty into this one, pull from this specialty into this one, pull from this specialty into this one, right? And then it gets you to be creative in those senses. Like in UFC a lot, like you're pulling from a lot from mixed martial arts. You're pulling from Jiu-Jitsu, you're pulling from Muay Thai, you're pulling from kickboxing, you're pulling from a whole bunch of areas of expertise. And it's like, first you have to master one, and then you could pull into another expertise. So let's say like first somebody did Jiu-Jitsu in the beginning of their career of UFC or career fighting. Let's say they started off with Jiu-Jitsu, and then they got into Muay Thai, but then they realized that they needed to work on their kicks. And then they got into their kicks and realized, hey, I actually got to get faster now with my hands. So then they're pulling in from all those places, and so they're pulling from all those places to make themselves a fuller, more spherical being, right? And it gets them to pull, like now they're not only pulling from one expertise, like like with Mike Tyson's, what was his name again? His coach?
Costamano.
Yeah, like with Mike Tyson's Costamado, like Mike Tyson had one area to pull from Costamado. Ali probably had different areas to pull from. Probably asked his coaches for specialties and like, where's my weak spot here? Okay, I gotta get faster. in this
It's
area.
good that you mentioned that because Ali's trainer always Angelo Dundee knew he was unique because, for example, they teach you in boxing not to do what Ali does, never to step back.
Oh.
The way Ali jab is not the conventional way of jabbing.
Yeah, he's forward.
so Ali was doing everything that you're like boxers, like trainers tell you. This is why I like what you're talking about. So he created his unique style. This is why he was so. Well, also you got to consider his reflexes. You got to consider his agility, his intelligence, his stamina, his chin. Because this man was also fearless. I honestly think Muhammad Ali was a real artist in the boxing realm. Like everyone is a boxer except Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali was the true interpretation of an art form in boxing. If you see him, it's like he's dancing like a gazelle. He's dancing. He can't be touched. It's like watching Van Gogh drawing and painting. It's like that's the way when I see Ali's old clips, right? When I see Tyson old clips, I see brute force, demolition, exactly. But when you watch Ali, it's like
it's a dance.
It's like how ahead of his time do you think Bruce Lee was? I want to hear both of your perspectives.
Man, like imagine him coaching MMA right now. That's his style, right? It's like, mix it all up.
Oh, yeah, I invented this 60 years ago.
Yeah. Whoa. Yeah, no, he would still be relevant. Yeah, he is. Wow.
His movies are amazing, too.
His philosophies are just.
Yeah, like.
What are your thoughts, Kev?
He's like art. Yeah, it was like Bruce Lee, Muhammad Ali. They're all brought art form to it. Like a lot of people when they see these things, they'll consider it like it's just a brute sport, but it's not a brute sport. It is strategic. It is a flow. It is like a dance between two fighters.
Yeah.
It is that, and how can you move your body, move yourself in a way to that, like, conquer that stage, right?
Yeah.
So it's like they'll kind of be like I feel like people will watch like a whole bunch of YouTube videos on them today, and as they're going through their trainings, I feel like we'll be like watching as they go through their trainings. They'll be just as impactful as they are today.
Yeah, but also think about it, like Bruce Lee was inventing this during a time where you had to, like, for example, he had to go into Chinese masters and learn from that, and see, and like think about with the technology that today exists, he had more access to more information.
Yeah.
Like imagine what he could have philosophized with today's information, because now he's seeing almost everything at once. And what I love about Bruce Lee, he wasn't only about the theory, he was actually the testament of the practice.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't there just, I'll just theorize this and this works, by the way.
He wasn't a spectator.
Yeah, he wasn't a spectator. And that's one thing I love about Bruce Lee is the fact that I am the example and the practice of my theory.
Yeah.
And to me I consider that true leadership.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, definitely.
He was his own test subject.
Heck yeah. He would probably be watching his own YouTube videos. He'd be like, how you do this? Yeah, 100%. He'll probably add on a whole bunch of different styles from probably like around the world. Because I think Bruce Lee also knew about his cultures, right? Like he knew how he was bringing the Chinese over to the West, the Chinese culture over to the West. So it's like, what if he also added like, and knowing that, he probably knows like there's other like, speculating, right? He'll probably know that there's also different fighting styles and different cultures. Like what if there was a fighting style in Africa that Americans didn't know about that he probably could have added? Like, the next thing you know, you have a Chinese, American, and then an Africa, like fighting styles all into one. Like, that's just a whole different type of beast in there.
Damn, I don't even want to picture that.
Yeah, I feel like the landscape of MMA would be totally different. It'd be so advanced if this pioneer of martial arts would have lived his whole life, right? Like, I feel like what they're doing now would have been done already like decades ago.
Yeah, like
just
40
because
years
of how
ago.
like the movement of Bruce Lee was huge. It still is.
Yeah,
it still is. It still is. Man.
I make my kids watch like Bruce Lee movies. They like, for example, I make them watch. Well, not that I make them. We watch together the Big Boss, which is called the Chinese Connection. To me, is like his best movie. This is where like he's fighting the Japanese and they're going into their dojo and trying to close their Chinese school of martial arts. And that movie is, to me, is so good, especially that at that time, I could just imagine, you've seen the scene where the hands are moving for Bruce Lee?
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine what people at that time would have been like, whoa, like watching The Matrix? But, you know, like, the movie transcends so much because my kids were like, yo, Bruce Lee is the man.
Yeah.
And we're talking about a movie that looks from the 70s, feels like the 70s, but his message is beautiful in each movie, man. And that besides his philosophy and his art form and his intelligence, it was also the way he could portray his culture in the movie.
Yeah.
You know, I love that.
I think Bruce Lee had like tremendous amounts of aura that like he could fight you and beat you without fighting. You know what I mean? Like he'll talk to you and like look at you and just like, you know, like he'll tell you without telling you, sure?
Yeah.
You sure? And it's like, nah, I'm good.
I'm not messing with you, bro.
That's it.
I have the last question before we end. I wish we didn't end because actually I have so many more things.
Well, that means I gotta come back on.
Bro, we gotta do a part two.
We'll do a couple parts.
Yeah.
I'm always busy and doing a bunch of things, and I have a lot to share. Sure.
That's good. So my last question to you guys is, we talk about Bruce Lee, the philosophy of like martial arts, and I wanted to go a little bit more and a little bit deeper. How influential? Oh, I wonder what really influenced Bruce Lee to think so universally. What are your thoughts? What do you think really caught his attention?
I think maybe the culture shift probably had to have him think universally, because it's like, imagine you come from one culture and you go to another culture. Of course, there's going to be like some kind of like adaptation to it. So it's like you had to adapt to. He adapted to the American culture. So like from that, he's able to think. From that, it's more like he had to think outside of his own understandings. Like we were talking about, like programming of the mind.
Yeah.
Like from a young age, he was programmed from one culture, and now it's like now you hop into another. So he has to take his program that he learned from here and then like try to reprogram it to adapt to this culture. But from that, probably opened up another sphere of just like, okay, there's like the universe is bigger than what was the immediate surrounding in the beginning. Like his one culture was that first one, and then it opened up when he stepped into America. It just out of adaptation, just out of necessity in a sense. It was a need more than a want.
I think because he saw, I think, like what you said, speculation, maybe it's martial arts, right? And so I think you have to have some sort of openness, and he allowed himself to receive different aspects of culture, and then from there he was able to process it to where he just had this eureka moment, right? Something that nobody else saw, and because he believed in it wholeheartedly, he became that manifestation, that representation, right? Because there's no denying it, right? So there's just something that clicked in his head, right? Like he just really tapped in, and he quadrupled down. Like he really believed, almost like blindly.
Well, and I believe we don't talk much about his conviction.
Yeah.
Because his conviction is what really sets him apart from perhaps many others.
Yeah.
Because I wonder, because he learned Wing Chun.
Yeah.
You know, and I wonder if not that he questioned, but I wonder if he had questions for his master about like, hey, what if we integrate karate to Wing Chun? And it probably like shut it down. So that's what I'm saying. Like, just like Ali, Bruce Lee had such a huge conviction, and people couldn't understand him. They just couldn't. I don't know if you guys seen the interviews he has that are black and white. He's talking about martial arts. And it's almost like there's skepticism of the people that are interviewing him. So like think about how important conviction is for the human being.
To stand by the belief.
That's how you combat that, right? Like you can look at somebody wholeheartedly with open eyes and confidence and be like, no, this is what I believe. You don't have to, but I'm standing in this, standing home business, right?
Now if you want to come to this side, you let me know.
Yeah, no, that is so true.
I'll tell you a funny story before we finish our chapter today. The first comment we got from the Ethics Guild podcast. Remember, Kevin?
Oh, wait, I'm so sorry. You had to remind me.
Kevin calls me, right? But go ahead, Kevin. What was the first?
I totally forgot. I think you're gonna have to remind me.
No, so like the first comment we got, I think we just put like 2 episodes. And somebody commented that's like, oh, so now everyone can do a podcast.
Oh, yes, I remember that first comment.
And Kevin was like, responded saying, hey, you got to start somewhere. And to me, it's like, we don't really have to explain, because not a lot of people understand what we really want to accomplish. They also don't even know our background.
Yeah.
They don't understand what school, what did we study, how far did we advance in those degrees, to sit here, to have credibility. So, like, people would normally comment, and I can just imagine how Bruce Lee felt. Think about that. Like, we're just doing a small little podcast. We're not even doing something where he's facing all these masters. They're telling him, like, you're crazy, you're nuts.
That's like Nikola Tesla. That's a hot take.
Like Nikola Tesla. Oh, that's a great topic. We got to talk about Tesla.
We do have to talk about Tesla. I'm obsessed with him.
Yeah, Tesla was on another realm, but we have to close the show, the chapter today. It's been great. I had a lot of fun. Freddie, you have to come back, bro.
Yeah, I will. I gotta say thank you so much for just focusing in on something ordinary and showing how extraordinary it is. And I think maybe the guy who commented in that way, if he could realize how extraordinary he is himself, he'd get up and do something rather than just, comment a little bit of hate. But that's all good. It's all gravy. And I appreciate you, giving us people a voice and just letting them know that we're here.
Yeah, let's go. What about you, Kevin?
Thank you, Freddy. Thank you. I love that term too. It's all gravy. I'm gonna tell you. I love it.
Here's some gravy for that mash.
Yes, sir.
Take it easy.
Yeah, so we had a lot of fun today, guys. Thank you, Freddie. We will be seeing each other soon, and expect a part 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 on Freddie B.
Oh yeah.
All right, so
we gotta talk about the shop next.
Yes, let's do it. Let's do it, and thank you so much, guys. We'll see you guys next time.
I'm trying to coexist.